And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here on the first day of school in Boise and throughout the Treasure Valley. We appreciate you joining us. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We're joined by our great friend Dan Perkins. Dan, good to have you back.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Oh, just trying to get over this Trump derangement syndrome that continues to go higher and higher and higher. I guess we've never seen anything like this.
No, and it's becoming more and more dangerous. I think if you look at what happened, for example, with Mr. Brennan, it's hard to believe that as biased as this individual comes across and hate how he was ever in charge of the CIA. It was just amazing to me, and I've got a piece coming out about that. Which could be shocking. But, it is. I did a piece a couple of weeks ago, Kevin, that kind of, I think, people have responded to pretty well. What the Democratic left and the Democrats and the left are going through is much like a drug addict going through withdrawal. You have to hit bottom before you can recover. And they haven't hit bottom, continuing to deny and protest. I don't have a drug problem. I don't have a political problem. And yet they absolutely refuse to put any positive ideas out for the American people. I mean, we want to become a socialist nation? I don't think so. Do we want everybody to have everything free and nobody has to be accountable or work for anything? I don't think so. I mean, it might sound interesting, but not practical. And the idea that the Democrats, when we passed the tax bill, that they called it crumbs. Now Nancy Pelosi, one of the leaders of the Democratic Party, says she wants the crumbs back. She wants to take it back and expand government and make the people more dependent. And they're still in denial. They still haven't figured out that they got their butts whipped because their message was trash. And until they come to hit that bottom of their dependency on hate and begin to think positively about the American people and about America, they're in serious trouble.
Well, I think they're counting on this great blue wave to come forward. What do you make of these midterms that have been going on where, people have been, back and forth on whether or not the Democrats will take over the House?
Well, I don't think they will. I think there'll be a red wave. I think that the American people are listening to what the leadership of the Democratic Party, including Ms. Cortez, the avowed socialist, and they're going to reject it. But let me address one particular election, because I happened to be in Columbus when that election was going on. We were there celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary, and I sat around the table Sunday evening with about 20 of my friends and relatives from Ohio, and typically blue state guys and women. They were phone company workers, and they worked for the Public Utilities Commission, and they worked for the fire department, the police department. These are blue collar guys and women. And I said, well, are you going to vote Democrat? Absolutely not. Why not? Because they don't understand what I want. They have I don't understand where they're going. They're not my party. So we had the election. Now, this is something that I think needs to be said. This was a midterm but off-term election. And according to the Franklin County voter registration process and voting process, 90% of registered Democrats showed up and voted. 90%. They didn't get 60% in the presidential election. They got 90%. And the other one is, I think this number, they're still checking it. 74 people over the age of 116 years of age voted. Maybe there was, and they still lost. They still lost with those kind of numbers.
Well, there's something in the water there in that Ohio. Great friend Dan Perkins joining us. Best-selling author,
sir.
of course. You can catch him on Breitbart, Amazon, Brotherhood of the Red Nile Terrorist. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And, of course, Dan, your website?
DanPerkins.guru.
DanPerkins.guru. So we see these midterms, and that's interesting. We haven't heard anybody spell it out like you just had, where, how many people over 100 voted, 90% of all the Democrats voted, and yet they still didn't get that seat.
Right. They didn't get it. And so I agree with you, Kevin. There's not going to be a blue wave. I actually think there's going to be a red wave. I think that the Republicans will actually pick up seats in the House, which will cause Nancy Pelosi to, at best, resign her position as minority party leader, and she'll be gone. I suspect that we will have somewhere between 56 and 58 Senate seats, and I think Schumer's gone. The whole Democratic Party, which has turned dramatically left, will result of this election turn further left. They will continue to ignore what's going to happen, and that's going to create a very interesting scenario. I fully expect that Judge Kavanaugh will be confirmed before the midterm elections. That will make it 5-4. I also believe that Ruth Bader Ginsburg will probably retire, possibly before the end of Trump's first term. And that's where I wrote several months ago when Kavanaugh was announced and the left went crazy. I said, you're picking the wrong battle. The battle replacing Kennedy, who was already a conservative, not the battle. The battle is who's going to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which is coming next. And as a result, he's going to retire if she doesn't pass away, because her health is, I guess, terrible, which means that Donald Trump is going to add another justice to the Supreme Court. It'll be a battle. But if they have 50, if I'm right, 56 to 58 leaders, Senate seats, it's a no-brainer for the Republicans to get their person, which means that the court will now be 6-3. And then the next step will be, before Trump finishes his second term, Justice Thomas will retire, so that Trump can appoint a younger conservative who will then extend the life of the conservatives on the court to probably 30 years.
And that would be game, set, and match for the libs.
Well, imagine you're right. If we understand that the Democrats have legislated through the courts, with the Supreme Court now possibly being 6-3, and Trump anointing hundreds of judges, and he said over the last weekend he's going to attack the openings in this, I call it the Ninth Circus, but it's the Ninth Circuit out of San Francisco, which has given him a lot of crazy rulings by judges who are incompetent to rule. We're going to change the makeup of the court, and that's going to begin to have an impact on the Democratic agenda that they've spent so many years trying to get the courts to support when they couldn't get it through Congress. So people are yet to figure out how important that 2016 election is going to be. I said from the very beginning, Kevin, that it wasn't really about jobs or the economy or anything else. It was about who was going to make the next pick for the Supreme Court, because that was going to – imagine if we would have gotten Hillary. We wouldn't have gotten Judge Gorsuch. So we would have had a 5-4 liberal, and who knows what would happen to the court. So the Lord was looking out for us.
Indeed. Our great friend Dan Perkins joining us. Kevin Miller here on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. So let's talk a little bit about the Russian-Brennan collusion conspiracy.
Okay.
What's the latest with this? And tell me, does Mueller wrap this up or what?
Well, I don't know whether Mueller will wrap it up. I'm doing a piece which I promised my publisher I wouldn't talk about because it's so explosive. But I think that the American people, if you follow the polling data, the American people are beginning to question the validity of Mueller and the investigation. The amount of information that's come out about how corrupt the FBI and the CIA and the Justice Department have been in this process. And yet the amazing thing to me, Kevin, is that nobody yet has been indicted. A lot of people have been accused, and evidence has come out, but nobody's been indicted. And I think if I'm right on the outcome of the election, the midterm, you're going to see a lot of people all of a sudden exiting the doors, because I think that the deep state and the Justice Department and the FBI is actually managing the process to delay it through the election, hoping that Donald Trump will be impeached because the Democrats get control of the House. And when that doesn't happen, it's going to create a serious problem for a lot of people, because the Congress will be more emboldened to do something, and the people like Brennan are going to be held accountable. I mean, I live in Southwest Florida, and one of the people of the 65 who was on the list who disagreed with Trump's decision about taking away Brennan's national security is Porter Goss. He's a legend here in Florida. I think he's absolutely wrong. If you understand what the rules of the road are, when you sign on for a government job, and in the case of the CIA, it's very clear under their regulations, once you depart, in order to maintain your security clearance, you have to act as if you were still the director in terms of your public posture and demeanor. He's clearly not doing that, and hasn't done that. And you can see the hate in what he's saying, how he says it. It's what's going on the left. This is a true leftist who cannot get over what happened that Mr. Trump won. And I think that the 65 people have been drinking a little bit of the Kool-Aid, and they're mixing the rights of the president to dismiss or take away the security clearance of anybody he chooses to. Been tested in the court, and he can do it. And Brennan is wrong. And the other 65, I think it's more of an emotional response. It is not a deterioration of their right of free speech. They have that right. But if you're going to speak out, then you're going to speak out. You're going to give up your security clearance, because the rules of engagement when you signed on to be the director of the CIA said once you depart, you have to behave in a certain way in order to maintain your clearance. He didn't do that, so he lost it. And I think the 65 are wrong. There are probably more than 65 security people who agree with the president. And but it's again, it's another example of the left going the wrong direction.
Dan Perkins, one more time, your website if people want to get a hold of you or any of your books.
DanPerkins.guru, and that's the books, the columns, the interviews, and the click to our foundation, Songs and Stories for Soldiers.
Dan, you take care. Good to have you back, brother.
It's always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for asking such great questions.
All right, Dan Perkins joining us. 107.5 FM, 580 AM, R&R. Thanks for your patience. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. First of all, your programming's just incredible. Well, 7 days a week. So I'm hoping, and I'm going to put some voice to this. I'm waiting for simulcast in Spanish, because there are so many of my Latino brothers out here prepping food and working already. And then a salute to the fine sanitation engineers all the way from Canyon County and Payette and Jim County and Ada County. I can hear the garbage trucks out there just compressing right now. And next, I love first days of school all the way since 1950-something in crosswalks. And as Liberty Linda says, it's not a suggestion. It's the limit, 20 mile an hour, our precious generation. And it's so good to hear that you're connected to the voice of reason, the man who can say he's been married 50 years and sits down with the, quote, Democrats. They're going to implode, and there's going to be a true republic for my generation and my great-grandkids, and I feel so good inside knowing that you're the voice of reason and the voice in the wilderness, and you and Mr. Lars Larson clear to Seattle. So, and then lastly, you just got to love that city that you live in, and I would hope so much that you could be a councilman or the commissioner, because that sprawl that's going through Star just disheartens me big time, all the way to Canada. lane. But at least you're the monarch of the Merc, and
I think that'd be Governor Otter, actually, the monarch of the Merc.
not you. You show up over there. You show up over there. People love you all over Star. And then I got to just a shout out to Star Tire and Auto. What right in there. There's a hub of pure human beings. Love you, Kevin. Bye.
Love you, R&R. Appreciate it. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO, the Western Idaho Fair. Rolling right along. Make sure you get a chance to go out there. Today is Channel 7 Day. Kevin Miller with you here. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I love this one.
I called his behavior treasonous, which is to betray one's trust and to aid and abet the enemy, and I stand very much by that claim.
Right. John Brennan was asked yesterday, did you call the president a traitor? Well, I just said he was treasonous behavior. That's being a traitor, right? We'll talk about it next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Rolling right along here. Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning on 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Liberal Steve joins us now. Good morning, Liberal Steve.
Now, that Dan Perkins or Carl Perkins Blue Suede Shoes? Dan Perkins, the author.
Good morning, Liberal Steve. How are you?
How many books has Dan? I'm doing pretty good. How many books has Dan written?
You'd have to ask Dan. Maybe you should call in when he's on.
Well, you interviewed him. I figured you knew how many books he put out there, and is this the same Dan Perkins that's a philanthropist and written children's books and has his own blog and on the China News in the morning?
I don't know, but go ahead.
Oh, anyway, as far as I'm concerned, he's upside down, shades the middle of his head from what I heard. Why people listen and buy books by people like that, I don't know. And when you have good people out there like Omarosa that's writing good books, Unhinged.
Omarosa's writing good books?
Yes, she's written how many now? They're all good. I mean, even a couple of Trump's books were pretty good. And then to go after the CIA, former CIA, come on, freedom of speech. What's happening? They're going after Alex Jones, freedom of speech. They're going after the president, freedom of speech. They're going after Brennan. Nobody wants freedom of speech on any side anymore. What's up with that? I mean, you and I can take it. We take it from both sides, can't we?
Well, I don't know your personal preference.
Well, Kevin in the morning and Sean going home, of course.
Fair enough.
Anyway, people just got to lighten up, man. This is going to land how it's going to land, and it's going to land in favor of the libs, the left, as it should. The left knows what they're talking about. You got great people like John F. Kennedy and the ones that are in there now. Barack Obama was a great liberal, great Democrat. We've got nobody on the right that we can look up to ever. Now we got Trump that's really ruined it for the right. So the blue wave is coming.
Do you find yourself kind of just your eyes glazing over every time you hear Liberal Steve talk? Because that's really what's happening to me, folks. I don't know if I'm the only one, but it just, he says something, but it doesn't really resonate, does it?
Kevin,
oh, wait a minute. You're still on the air.
Your eyes are glazing over? What are you smoking?
You're not saying anything. You're saying absolutely
Kevin,
nothing.
What did
You've been on for 2 minutes, 42 seconds, and you've said absolutely nothing.
What have you been smoking, your eyes glazing over? What you doing in Lincoln, Oregon?
Not that, lawbreaker. And we go to Mike Tracy on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Kevin. How much time do we have? Because I have a couple things.
Well, if you want to hold on, or you can.
No. I just wanted to say, Liberal Steve does not know what he's talking about with Obama. I grew up in Chicago, and my father moved us to Paul, Idaho in 1970 because everybody there has criminal records, including most of the elected officials. So that's why you're seeing so many murders in Chicago. But that's not why I called. You had a caller earlier that was spot on about the federal district judges in the Supreme Court. And over the last 30 years, with my work at Idaho Farm Bureau and with Senator Craig and other clients, our number one stumbling block to try to get fairness in the courts has been the Ninth Circuit. And most of the attorneys that I've worked with over the years call it just what he did, the Ninth Circus Court. And so I just wanted you to know that I can't remember his name, your caller, but he was spot on about the courts. And it's wonderful to see the president changing the course of these courts. I never thought I would see this happen in my lifetime. And the Democrats have been in control, by the way, of Chicago since the day I was born. I was born in 1955, and the Democrats have controlled Chicago. And so it's no wonder that it's such a mess.
Well, Mike, enjoy the morning workout.
All right. I'm already done, buddy.
Well, that's impressive.
All righty. Talk to you later.
All right. Take care. All right, Brother Max, if you can hang on, you'll get plenty of time, and you as well, 580-5436. 580-KIDO. You're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Morgan.
Good morning, Kevin.
All right, Max, Bill, and Tim, hang on. We're going to get to you. Max, your patience will be rewarded. Joining us now, though, is the early rising Michelle Polino. Good morning.
Good morning.
This has to be a record for you on this program, or any program, really, this early.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And the big question is, the VMAs were last night. Have you gone to bed yet?
VMAs are tonight.
Oh, well, there you go. That's why we have you on to straighten me out, yes.
Yes, the VMAs are tonight. It's weird. A lot. This has been a trend I've been noticing. Award shows switching from Sundays to Mondays. I think it's just viewership is just not there anymore.
Well, I would agree with you, and one would have to wonder just how important these are. I mean, you have the VMAs, the ESPYs, the thises, the that's. Then you have the ones that really matter, the Oscars, the Emmys, the Tonys.
Yeah. And even I think this year's Emmys, yes, in fact, it's true. Yeah, the Emmys this year are on a Monday night.
There we have that trend continuing. So I think we've exhausted the awards show. Let's talk a little bit about, I always love doing this to you, the movies coming up for the fall. Anything good? There's always something
movies
good.
Coming up for the fall. Oh, my gosh. I'm going to have to, rent my brain. Let me see. The fall. Oh, A Star is Born. That is pretty huge. I mean, that's Bradley Cooper's directorial debut, and also and it also stars Lady Gaga, but that's pretty huge. And of course, it's a remake of the Barbra Streisand Chris Christopherson film, so it's going to be a big one, and I think it'll do really well this fall.
He said it's either going to be very big or the end of his career, I believe he was quoted at.
Is that what he said? That's so interesting. I think it's going to be very big for him. I think he's one of those guys. He's a really hard-working actor, and I think most of America kind of looks to that versus the loudmouth actors. You know what I mean?
As a talk show host, I have no idea what you're meaning when you say loudmouth.
Very funny. Venom's another big one coming. I think what else is coming up in the fall? Let me think.
Maybe another superhero movie. Maybe Shazam. Maybe.
Well, yeah, but Venom's really kind of the superhero. Oh, that's right. Of course, the Harry Potter spinoff. Oh my gosh, I can't think of it now.
Timmy Potter.
Yeah. The Crimes of Grindelwald with Johnny Depp.
Gee whiz.
I know. That should be very, very interesting. And of course, the biopic on Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody, that'll be coming up in November.
Sounds like a lot of heavy stuff going on.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think we have any really. We have Creed 2, the follow-up to Creed, which is, of course, just an extension of the Rocky franchise from Sylvester Stallone.
Right.
Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. That's the one. And, of course, in December, it's going to be pretty huge. Mary Poppins Returns, Aquaman, Bumblebee. So a whole bunch of stuff to look forward to then. But, I mean, I think what we're really kind of are looking at in September is A Star is Born. Oh, and The Predator. The Predator's back.
I thought The Predator was on Social Security.
Yeah, no, they've revived it. So there it is. It's back. Those are probably, I think, the biggest and best movies that you can look forward to. But it's been a heck of a summer. I mean, $4 billion at the box office, second best summer box office. If you actually included, and that's not including the Avengers Infinity War, if you included that, I think it would be 4.45. So I think 4.75 is the record. That was 2013.
Well, I guess when you have that big of a opening run, it's tough to finish it off.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a record box office though by the time we get to December. I mean, some of those movies are going to do really well. Aquaman also, I believe, is coming out. Yeah, Aquaman is coming out in the fall. So that's your Venom and Aquaman are your superhero or supervillain. Venom is kind of on the cusp of that.
Sure. Tortured soul. Michelle Pollino,
Yeah.
We so appreciate you waking up so early. I know you love the nightlife.
True, I like to boogie.
Take care.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Michelle Pollino, boy, she's a spark. I think the only one that could rival her is Max in Garden City on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Max.
Good morning. Good morning. Liberal Steve is actually very educational for me. As a doctor, I thought I had a pretty good handle on the many possible causes of vertigo until I listened to Liberal Steve. He causes vertigo, so I'm going to write him into my medical notes here. Now, I guess what I wanted to call about, really more than Liberal Steve and his insane antics, is putting public money into collegiate sports. Do you think it's a good idea?
No.
Even $1. Not even $1. Would you agree with me?
No, I think they should be self-sufficient.
Absolutely. They should run on a club basis. I'm looking at how much money the sports director for University of Idaho was getting paid. I don't know how much they're paying Boise State. These are outrageous salaries for coaches, and if they want to support those salaries, go sell tickets to your games. Universities are already doing a pretty poor job of educating our children. It gets even worse when they divide their attention between academics and sports. And I guess the other part is, how do you feel about eminent domain?
How do I feel about it? Well, I think it shouldn't.
Yes,
I think it shouldn't be used for a sporting venue. That's for sure.
Am I wrong in saying that if you've got to put a highway through or drop a railroad, or if it's for the obvious public need, not good, need, what do you think?
Well, again, I agree with you on that. I do.
I have a friend who was a victim of public domain in Kansas City, and they took away his shops, his two shops. They'd been third or fourth generation. And they took them away, cleared the land for a primary school that was never built. 2 years later, the land sold to a developer who threw up some condos. I don't know. Maybe you can help me. Where did the eminent domain begin?
Oh, boy, that would be, I'd say, back in the 1900s? The Gilded Age, maybe?
Because it seems to me, we live in a country where we really aren't allowed to own property. Same as communist China. Except in communist China, there are actually more protections on the books in favor of the person who's on the land. It's harder to eminent domain in communist China than it is in the United States. Now, I think that's a sad, sad commentary. Have you ever known anybody who's been eminently domained off their property?
I've worked a couple cases over the years, yeah.
And it's heartbreaking, isn't it?
Well, what's really heartbreaking is, and Max, why not just get it all out here, that no one will cover this, no one have enough guts to say that you shouldn't be kicking out of the Boise Church of Christ, getting rid of their parking lot. You shouldn't be getting rid of these apartment complexes for a luxury. There's a luxury and a necessity. A baseball stadium is a luxury. I'm sure they could go down to Capitol High. I'm sure they could go down and use the Hawks Stadium. I'm sure they could go use the downtown stadium, which I hope never gets done. You don't need your own baseball stadium. It's a luxury. It's not a necessity. And that's where we're at. But apparently, just like when big industry, big pharma, now we have big education, wants their path, then forget about it. Where is the vocal opposition besides the voices on this program? Boise State, on one hand, when it comes to the national media, the national perspective, they're the good guys. And, hey, they produce. On the other hand, when it comes to dealing with things locally, now we're seeing the underside, and no one wants to mention it. Why? Because they don't want to get their ticket revoked to the hamburger stand at the football games. That's the truth.
That is the truth. To me, it is, and I'm going to rant for a second.
Max?
When the government can just reach in and say, you know what, I want to throw up a baseball stadium for a losing team, for a losing university, for a losing cause, and you're going to pay for it. People write letters to your, if we have to, a little civil disobedience and demonstrations. I have no idea. I've written my letters. I've made my phone calls, but I feel helpless in the face of all of this. Except, well, I've got a voice through you. And that's nice. And through the 701 KBOI. That's nice. But is that enough, Kevin?
Well, I would say one is credible and one isn't. Thank you, Max, for the call. Kevin Miller in the morning here. Phone number is 580-5436. 580-KIDO. We've kind of been all around the corner here. We do want to take your calls about the issues that matter to you. I want to get back to this quote from John Brennan, who's mad because he got his security clearance taken away because he called the president a traitor.
I called his behavior treasonous, which is to betray one's trust and to aid and abet the enemy, and I stand very much by that claim.
So why in the world would you let this man have a security clearance if, in fact, he's going to do this? By the way, I do want to remind you, Dinesh D'Souza will be joining us on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Big get for us there. Dinesh D'Souza will join us, and in a couple weeks we'll once again be broadcasting live exclusively throughout the Treasure Valley from Washington, D.C. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And coming up, Petso. Dave Petso will join us. Looking forward to that. As always, every Monday, our great friend Dave Petso, been on the station for years, and we'll go round and round. Speaking of hitting them heavy bags, Security Guard Mike joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Security Guard Mike.
Hey there, Kevin Miller. It's a wonderful day and a beautiful day to be on your show talking to you because you're an awesome guy and Idaho's great. I just wanted to talk about that John Brennan situation that was going on. He should not have a security clearance because when I retired from the Navy, I was a crypto tech, and I had a top secret clearance, and as soon as I retired, they took it away because I had no need for it anymore, and I don't want any need for it anymore. The only reason why that guy wants it is so he can remain what he calls relevant, so he could go on talk shows and make money off that clearance. He should not have it. As far as I'm concerned, he should be done. Go write a book. Go do your own research and come up with your own analysis. You should not have a clearance anymore. No more access, period. That's just the way I look at it. And I think your awesome show is a beautiful show.
Now,
Love
wait a minute. Before you get, hold on. Before you get rolling here, as a former member of the military, by the way, thank you for your service as a veteran. Those are pretty harsh words when you call the president a traitor.
Oh, I absolutely. What proof does he have that he's a traitor? What proof? Where is the documentation other than what the Hillary Clinton campaign drummed up and made up and and fabricated and whatever other kind of words you can use to make the word fabrication. I cannot believe that these people are still running with this. These Democrats, man, I'm telling you, man, it's just unbelievable. And also, hey, your Dinesh D'Souza guy is going to be great. I love that Death of a Nation. I've seen it twice already. Beautiful show. Beautiful show.
Well, make sure you call in on Wednesday. I'm sure he'd love to hear from you.
Oh, I love that Dinesh D'Souza. I listen to him a lot. No, not as good as you, Kevin Miller, but I love that guy too. Perfect. Well, you guys take care. Have a wonderful day and this beautiful Monday. All right, take care of yourself.
All right. God bless Security Guard Mike.
Bye-bye, buddy.
Bye-bye. 580-5436. 580-KIDO. If you're just waking up, this was one of the Sunday show's most scintillating talking points.
I called his behavior treasonous, which is to betray one's trust and to aid and abet the enemy, and I stand very much by that claim.
That was John Brennan on the liberal program Meet the Press. And by the way, if you call someone a traitor, if you call someone such and such at work, do you deserve to keep your job? Tell you a little story next. First, traffic and weather together.
7 Missouri Kevin.
And Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Getting back to this, I mean, if you say something bad about your boss, does that mean you should ingratiate yourself to that organization? And we're not just talking about any organization. We're talking about the security clearances of these people, and whether it's Susan Rice, whether it's Brennan, whether it's Clapper, whether it's Comey, whether it's Ho, whomever. These people, remember, lied about Benghazi. These people have been aiding the deep state in the war against what's good and right and the United States of America. Right? And for Brennan to have this faux thing, I don't understand why they feel so compelled to disagree with the president. Because remember, for 8 years, free speech in America died. Unless you were a liberal, in my opinion, free speech was over. Careful what you say. Don't make Obama mad because he'll get you. And you take a look at what Edward Snowden did, exposing James Clapper, Brennan as liars, the deep state, how they can continue to monitor us. So you have one man, Donald Trump, who gets elected by the grace of God. And what are they trying to do? Remove him from office. Just like they did with other presidents. Think about the presidents that were the real game changers. Think about what happened to them. And let's hope that Trump is successful. Let's hope that the Republicans understand it. Because that's where we're at today. We're on the front lines, folks. We need you. Kevin Miller in the morning on 107.5 FM, 580 AM. We're just getting started. Dave Petzo coming up next. News about your money with Kevin Miller on your station for Fox News in the Treasure Valley, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.